After watching the film, I don't feel a lot different. It's hard to believe that the guy that scored 19 points all year scored 18 in one game. All Big Ten season, I should say. I guess you got to give them credit for that. I did not think we played with the energy that we needed to play with, and it started out at the beginning, and then it just kind of grew. It's been a tough couple of weeks in a lot of ways, and did not like or enjoy or respect the way my players or the coaches, so it's all of us, handled the situation. I told you all along, we're not a great team. I don't know if there are many great teams, but we're a good enough team that a performance like that is unacceptable. In Maryland, I think I'm very impressed with the job they've done. You know, we hit a team that's now won 4 out of 5. And before that, took Purdue to a 2-point game without, at Purdue, without one of their best players. So I know Ayala is a big key for them, and he didn't even play in that game. So right now, Fats Russell has been on a tear. Might be the hottest player in the Big Ten. He's scoring 21 a game, getting 17 or 18 shots. Dante Scott has always been a problem for us and is playing pretty well for them. Ayala is also very good, and Hart is playing a lot better. So those are all guys that have 4 years, 3 years of experience. Bats is at 5. They're getting a little more out of their centers right now, and it's a real team. It's not a team that just got lucky in a couple games. They won 4 out of 5. Give Danny Manning a lot of credit for that. He's kept that team alive, and they'll be coming in here loose but hungry, and we'll be coming in here not loose, and it better be hungry. And so I'll take any questions.
I'm wondering, where you're at right now with this team. How do you kind of compartmentalize maybe the last 2 games and focus ahead with this group?
Plus, we have no choice to do in this job. You always have to focus ahead, but you do have to learn from behind. I just did not appreciate the way a couple guys didn't bring it. A lot of quiet guys, I didn't appreciate that at all. And I take full onus and ownership of that. We said we've done some changing in spots, and we'll constantly keep rattling things, but it was a tough day for our point guards, and maybe that's because what AJ has been through and everything. But I do believe that we got good matchups with them. They drive the ball so well that we better be playing good team defense. And for some reason, a team that led this league in defense just 2.5 weeks ago, in the last 5 games, has given up almost 50%. And that's never, ever, ever happened. So disappointments. We didn't play great offensively, but we shoot 45 and 50 and lose by 10. That should never happen. So where am I? I'm not in a good mood. I'm not, I know what kind of team I have. I know we're good enough to beat a lot of people, and we're immature enough to lose to some people if we don't play with the zest we have. I feel sorry for guys like Gabe, because I think every day he brings it, and I respect that, and hopefully that's he's gonna be able to drag a few people with him.
Did you feel like, even in the first 5 minutes, even though Ohio State was hot, did you feel like you made some progress in terms of communication in some areas? The gap coverage, was that a little bit better, did you think, taking away the drive? Because that was a problem a couple days earlier.
Yeah, we did a little better job when you look at it defensively. We did a little better job, and they hit some shots. I mean, the kid from Penn State, he makes 4 threes, I think, in the first half. But Brunk was the real killer. It seemed like he was throwing left-hand hooks, right-hand hooks. Really, we thought we did a decent job on Malachi that first half, and Liddell hit those. I think he hit 3 threes, and I mean he can make a 3, but it's like the Michigan game. Williams hits 3 for 3, he made 6 all Big Ten season, and so some of that is your snake bits. Some of it is you didn't do a good enough job. I thought it was okay, but sooner or later, at this level, you got to play, and you've got to compete, and you've got to hold people down. You can't just keep trading buckets. At Michigan, we traded buckets the first 5-6 minutes, and then that usually doesn't work out well for you. So disappointed in our defense. It's one of the trademarks of the program, and we've just got some guys that aren't playing as good defensively as we need. You have AJ probably do as good a job on kid from Purdue. Ivy, you do as good a job as he's did on him. And then, fairness to him, maybe the illness really got him. He's still got a sore throat. He's got tonsillitis. He's got strep. He's got all that stuff. But I think, if you're a competitor, you figure out a way to get the job done. And we got to compete at a little different level than we've been competing for maybe a couple weeks. Before that, we're still up and down, but we did some good things and never really had the let down defensively that we've had in the last couple games.
Tom, usually most senior days here, you're going in with something to play for, or whether something's on the line or whether you've clinched something or whatever it happens to be, and that's not the case this year, as we've seen the way the team's playing.
Well, there's a lot on the line. It's just not the championship flavor that we've all been used to, and and that's our fault. That's our fault. There was an opportunity there. It's been the strangest year in the Big Ten as I've ever seen. And hats off to Wisconsin and what they've done, but it has been a strange year in the league. And yet, it's our fault. We're not playing for something a little more, but we are playing for the seed in the Big Ten tournament. We are playing for a seed in the NCAA tournament. We are playing to get back on track so you can make some kind of run. You've proven that you can play with the Illinois and Purdue's, and those teams got a chance to be Final Four teams. So, in a way, maybe for the fans, there won't be a banner hung Saturday, Sunday, but in a way, I hope the fans appreciate the seniors we have and help us get back on track. If you want the truth, help us get back on track. And I got to do a better job. I'm going to try to do that in the next 2 days.
Tom, I wonder what you have not had many teams, if any, at least that I've been around, where, and the schedule obviously this year had something to do with it, where going down the stretch, you've been in this sort of situation. I'm wondering how that changes the vibe, what that's like even for the coaching staff, having examples to draw from, and how different this is than other years.
Well, I will use my one excuse and blame me for the rest. I will. But the one excuse, the schedule, not the 4 games in a week. It's who we played at the end of the year. It's been a pretty brutal schedule, Sometimes where we played them, and sometimes there were some teams that were just 1 or 2 that I thought were just better than us, and one of them we beat. But it's different. I always say that my job is to keep learning here too. If I think I've learned everything, I've been shocked by how inept some of our juniors and seniors at times have been, and been disappointed in some of the play of certain positions that are very critical in having successful teams. And I've been very critical of myself and my staff because I think we got a job to do too. So am I learning? I'm trying to figure out what hit me with the real part of the question.
Well, just how different this is for you than other years.
Yeah, it's different, but I mean, Miles' year, I mean, we were fighting and scraping just to to win 15 games, and really never beat many really good teams. We've beaten some really good teams. I mean, where we played right neck and neck with some really good teams. I know where we are. I'm disappointed that, we didn't bring it a little more against a couple of teams, and we let a couple of leads like at Penn State slip away. That's disappointing. But every season is a new season, and you have new individuals, and everybody has different problems. And in all fairness and honesty, some guys respond different than others. I think this COVID thing is taking a toll on a lot of players around the whole country, a lot of people. But as a leader, as the head coach, it's my job to make sure, as I told them, that we don't fall into the same trap. Well, we have some, and now our job is to fight our way out of it. And I'm looking forward to that challenge more than you know. I really am.
This year in the Big Ten, maybe more than a year, I can remember almost every team has like a dude, like as a guy. It seems like Keegan Murray, Johnny Davis, Illinois has a couple for Dude, with Ivy and so forth. And to have a year where you're more of a collective without that guy, is it a tough year to go through the league like you are?
I'd say yes, but I'd really say no. There's once in a while there's an advantage to having the collection. And what we think sometimes is the key guy is not the key guy. My example to me would be Wisconsin. I still think David Sin might be the key guy because he rallies everybody. I love Davis, but David Sin has been that. I think Trent Frazier at Illinois, even though he's not the one with all the accolades, I think you're seeing a lot of 5th and 6th year guys that have been around, ironically not transfers, but been around. I think in the Murrays, they got a 6-year point guard, but in Murray, he's also a 3-year out of school guy, So I think you're seeing more veterans that have had playing time and opportunities, and the leadership stuff comes from those kind of people. And our point guards are young and experienced for sure. And I thought I'd have a little more leadership. Gabe has tried to do some of that, not totally his personality, but I think some other guys could have stepped up, and they haven't stepped up yet. So we're gonna hope we get them to step up here in the next day or two. And that sounds ridiculous, but that's what happens when you have a team and you don't have a superstar. And I think we've got one in the making. It's just that maybe not quite there yet.
When you say that, you're talking about Max and hoping he makes that jump.
Which I think he can make that jump this year still. I really do. I think you look at different people who came on at the end of a year. Last year, it was both Ivy and Davis. To be honest with you, that at the end of the year is when they played some of their best basketball, propelled them on. So that's what I'm hoping for.
You talk about the seniors on Sunday and hoping the fans appreciate them. What have you appreciated about your senior class this year? Has there been anything maybe that has stood out to you that you're like, well, maybe I didn't expect it from this guy, but something you've been pleasantly surprised with?
That's a good question. It's different relationships with each one of them. Gabe has been the guy that I guess I appreciate the most from the standpoint of I've known him the longest. I feel like I've grown up with him because he lives in this building so much. Markey, I sort of knew the next longest. There's no secrets. It's been an up and down challenge for him and us. But what I do appreciate, he stood in there. He hung in there. Could have left 4 times. And he hung in there. And so I appreciate that about him. And then Joey, guy that I thought we were going to get out of high school, and then, went a different track and came here. I never looked at Joey as a transfer because I always thought this was home for him. And the saddest part for me and Joey is I think right now he's in the best place he's been in. It was crazy what he kind of went through early, leaving high school a little early and all that. But I look at Joey and I think he's grown as much as anybody recently in the last 3-4 weeks, believe it or not. You say it's never too late, it's never too late. Sometimes it's not always in play, but sometimes it's around everything and around the gym and how he is with other players. And I just watched him grow a lot. I think each one of those guys is still going to have an important part of this end of the season, hopefully surge that we're going to have, and we need to have. And so, there's always disappointments. Players are disappointed in coaches are disappointed in players, families, fans are always disappointed. But you got to look at the big picture of things, and some guys mature faster than others. Some guys it takes a little longer. But I will say that all three of those guys, sometimes you get frustrated. I get frustrated because I think Marcus could do more. But all three of those guys kind of love and live the game. Now, they don't always know what it takes to do it, but I have no complaints. I mean, Gabe is by far the best, and Joey's right there with him as far as guys that come in here and spend time. But Marcus, for a big guy, probably spends more time in the gym and wants to be a player. I think that's an important thing. Some guys don't really want to be as good as they could be, want to be the best of themselves. I think Mark does. Sometimes he doesn't know how to do that, but I think he does. And so I will appreciate that in this day and age where there's so many other activities going on. I think those guys, basketball is a priority to them, and it'll be interesting to see what happens at the end of the year.
You mentioned that longevity aspect of it, and having those guys dedicating all of this time to your program. Obviously, that's good for the program, but how much does it mean to be able to maybe connect with them more on a personal level, as you kind of mentioned before?
Well, it means a lot. You never do that as much while they're here as when they're gone. But there's been a million talks with each guy. Gabe is always the best because there's always people questioning my relationship with Gabe, and our relationship with Gabe is probably as good as any I've had with a lot of guys. And Joey, I tell Marky all the time, Joey, I love what he is and what he stands for and who he is as a student. And I'm telling you, he's still a really good player if he could just get over a hump. But in Marky, it's just been a maturity thing to me. And everybody matures at a different age. And Marcus would have been it was a normal era when you were allowed to redshirt guys. He would have redshirted his freshman year for sure. Tried to talk him into it for a variety of reasons. But who knows? I mean, there's still opportunities for these guys, both here and somewhere else, meaning, G League, NBA, Europe, wherever. We'll see what happens at the end of the year.
You've had some seniors that have had that switch flip, maybe at this point when maybe this all comes about, senior day, and kind of the flood of emotions kind of brings the reality to the ending. Do you feel like these guys can do it? Is there anybody that you maybe hold up to them at this point and say, look at how maybe like a Brandon Dawson finished, and you can do this?
Yeah, Travis Trice. I mean, there's been more than a few players that have done that. And, I feel like I've been saying we're 18 and 6, we're 19 and, we're 19 and 11. And that isn't where I want to be. But I was reminded by John Calipari today, Coach K the other day, that, guys had worse years than this, and even last year for some of those teams. So we just aren't used to it here, but they're not used to it at their places either. And hopefully all we're going to do is just keep marching on, because if we can get some guys over the hump, and a recent coach that I played against, won't mention names, but said to me, "You guys have as good a shot as anybody if you can get rolling." I said, "Why do you say that? We haven't played very good in the last." I said, "Because you already have done it. You spent 3/4 of the year ranked 1 or 2 in offensive, defensive efficiency stuff, from the 3, from the 2. You've spent all year as the free throw leader. You've already done that. You've been a good rebounding team, not as good this year, but you were 3-4 all year long in the league. And so you have been there, and there's no question the last 4 or 5 games we have not played. I mean, in Purdue, we played well, but you know, you can't play 1 out of 5 well. And we played against some other teams that played real well. You know, we learned that Rutgers is a better team than we think. We learned that Penn State is a pretty good team. You know, they just went to Illinois last night and lost by 5. So it's not just us, but you have to play at a very high level. The disappointment for me is I don't think we've done a collectively good enough job as a staff or as a team of realizing that every little mistake matters. You know, what kids don't want nowadays, or players don't want, is they don't want pressure. But there is pressure at this level. And that's why you come here. That's what's been interesting with Tyson Walker talking about that. You know, it's different. That's why there's different levels. You know, when Mike Garland and I played, you know, you had the cheerleaders, the pep band, and your parents. You know, there wasn't a lot of pressure. You had the local Yoko media guy, you had no TV that came in, you just had this local guy, and he'd write a few columns and write a few things, maybe follow a big game if it was really big, and that's what that level's for. Doesn't mean it's not important, doesn't mean it wasn't important to me, but this level, you cannot just make mistakes and blow them off. You cannot come not ready to play and expect to win. That has been a little disappointing for me, but I look at some of the youth we have that doesn't understand it, and some of the veterans we have that maybe haven't explained it well enough. So those two things go hand in hand. We're still growing. But tonight will be a long night because we're growing, but this is March. And we've been successful in March when we were poor a few years. And we've been successful in March when we were really good. So that's the challenge I'm putting to my staff and to my team, and see if we can work our way out of it. But realize there's a couple positives. We've cut our turnovers down to 10.8 in the last 5 games. We've shot the ball a little better in the last 5 games. Our defense has been awful, not even that good. But it was great for 20 games, or damn good for 20 games. So if we can mix and match a little bit here, maybe that coach is right.
Coach, you were mentioning that last little bit about trying to switch the defense from being awful to where you want it to be. What type of things do you need to see the guys do differently? Was it effort that you wanted to see more of? How defensively can you improve?
Well, you're going to talk to the 3 of them in a little bit here, and they're all sitting back there, and we said it to them. So I think I could go right down the list. They're going to improve usually at the point of attack. Our point guard's got to be as evident when AJ guarded Ivy. I mean, he still had 20 points, but it was a well-earned 20 points. You know, we did a better job point of attack. Dribble penetration has hurt us a little bit. When you do that, you don't rebound as good. What I've been disappointed of is we're not getting the ball inside enough. We're not going to the free throw line. We're averaging 19, 20 attempts, leading the conference. I mean, that's not outrageous number high, but we were leading the conference in free throw shooting. Now we still are, but we're getting there 11 or 12 times a game. We're killing ourselves because we're not getting fouled. So all those things that we have done before, we've got to figure out a way to do them again. The defensive part, that's going to be a choice. I tell players all the time, defense is a choice. I can do it or I can't do it. It's your choice. It's not a skill. It's just an effort-related deal. And when you are shooting poorly, sometimes it affects it. When you're losing, I mean, somebody said, "Are you tired?" I said, "Damn right I'm tired. I'm tired of losing. You know, I'm not used to losing like this down the stretch, and so I am tired of losing. I'm not physically tired. We'll get through that. I'm tired of losing, I'm going to change that." And that's kind of be the way I'm looking at the next this weekend and then beyond.
Is it more frustrating or optimistic for you right now that this team has done it?
If I was to be honest with you, it's more, I'm more ticked off about it now. I've gone through frustration, I've gone through optimism. Optimism is earned, you know, it's like respect, it's earned. If you don't do the things that you're supposed to do, it's hard to be optimistic. But I do think, in saying that, because we've done it before, I'm not looking for something out there around Pluto that we've never done before. I'm looking at things that have been accomplished here with this team, not with last year's team, with 4 years ago's team, with this team. And I will close by saying, you know, I got great guys, they get along, but there comes a bond maybe when your back's against the wall that can help you, because nobody loves you like they used to. And but the people that are you're closest to are the ones that are gonna help you get through that. And that's what we're here for now, and that's what hopefully they're here for each other. And losing's hard. I haven't had a lot of experience in losing, you know, maybe a number of games in a row or something like that in a sequence. And so you're never too old to learn, and I'm learning how to deal with that. I'm very optimistic that we can do it. Very optimistic, because it's already been done. I'm ticked off that we haven't done it, because I think we had an opportunity. We've had a couple opportunities. You come off a big win against Purdue and then go down and don't guard anybody at Michigan, don't guard anybody in Columbus. I mean, I told you we shoot 45 and 50% from the three. Michigan State should win 90% of those games, and we didn't. So optimism is high, disappointment is high, but anger is a little high too, because you know, people just think that they want us to win. Nobody out there wants us to win like I want us to win, and that's the way I'm approaching it.